Hey everybody, Raymond here from the Beginner Photography Podcast, and we got something a little bit new and interesting that I'm trying here for 2021. 2021 is a year that we missed out on a lot of things in 2020, and one of them being just interaction with others, in person and being able to get out and do things together. So one of my focuses here in 2021 is building a stronger community, right? Learning who it is that we're hanging out with online, and becoming closer with them because everybody knows something that we don't. And if we can uh, learn who other people are and what it is that they shoot and how they shoot, then we can in turn become better photographers. That's the whole reason why I started this podcast, was to talk to other photographers and learn how they see the world, essentially. Well, one of the things is that, I've gotten feedback on is that it would be nice to hear from photographers still new in their journey. And I thought, okay, well, how do I find these photographers who are new in their journey? Typically, when either I look for a guest to have on, I look for somebody who has, done something interesting recently, or is making news, or has something specific to share. So, how am I going to find a new photographer who maybe isn't at that stage to where they are being put out like that? And then it hit me, wait a second, we have an entire community of photographers who are very new in their journey. So why not interview you? So that's what I am doing this year. I want to interview you, the community of the Beginner Photography Podcast, to learn more about you and your photography and your struggles and where you're at right now, wherever that is. If you started this month, you just got your first camera for the holidays, I still want to interview you to figure out, how I want to see that excitement that you have for the future of photography. And that is what these conversations are going to be about, because I promise you, we don't all share everything about ourselves on social media, as it might not seem sometimes, when we're posting pictures of our lunch or whatever. But it's not until you're able to hear somebody, it's not until you're able to hear somebody's voice and learn how they see the world, that you can truly appreciate who they are and start to build a deeper connection. So these talks that I'm having are with you, the community. And again, I want to learn how it is that you see the world. So today I'm talking with Sandra, who's been in the group for, well, at least a year now. And I reached out to her first because I'll tell you what, last year, the year 2020, we started a daily photo challenge. And there's a lot of momentum in the beginning, and then over time it slowly starts to fizzle out as people are stuck at home, or they lose interest, or they think that they don't have anything to photograph, and yada yada yada. And the list of excuses can go on and on. I know that I have a bunch of excuses because I didn't finish it. And then, despite all of that, day after day, Sandra got on there and she said, I'm starting the thread today. Here's my photo. Let's see yours. And she completed the daily photo challenge. So there was a lot to learn from her about, how she grew as a photographer this past year and what it is that she's going to be doing here in the future. So I really think there's going to be a fun and interesting chat. So obviously, listen to this, and I hope that you can find it inspiring and learn something about yourself. Sandra, why don't you just tell me who you are, where you're from, and what it is that you do?
Right. So this is where things get complicated. I'm from Colombia originally, um, but I left Colombia about more than 20 years ago, and I lived in Budapest in Hungary for a while, and then I met an Irishman, and we got married, and now I'm living in Ireland. I'm actually in the countryside in Ireland, which is beautiful. So
I feel
yeah,
like every
that's
photo
my
that I've seen of
background.
yours, every photo that I've seen of yours is just, it's beautiful. Like you just said, like it's fantastic. It's one of those things where you just look at it and you wonder, you're like, this looks like it could be a painting, and yet here you are, living in this real place. So,
Yeah.
what is it that you do in like when you're not doing photography? What is it that you do?
Well, we have some like real estate, that I kind of take care of. It's not a full-time job, so I have, luckily, have a lot of free time, because that's when things happen, when well, usually when problems arise, it's when you have to kind of get hands on. But otherwise, it's something that leaves me a lot of time to do whatever things that I want. And now, obviously, that is photography. So I'm lucky
Yeah,
that way.
yeah. That's where photography comes in. This is awesome. So, how long have you been shooting?
Um, call it seriously about 2 years. I've always liked it, but never really got into it. I always thought, oh no, that's not something that, at the time didn't have the time for it, and it can be an expensive hobby, So it's like no, there are other priorities in life. But the time was right, and I actually started with um, power shot, like not even a DSLR,
Like a
and
point and shoot.
here, yeah, and here in the village, they offered a free digital photography course. I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. So I, landed there, and I remember the teacher was saying, "Oh, your camera is just very limited." I'm like, yeah, well, what can you do? So, but it was very good, and I got really engaged, and then eventually I got a secondhand DSLR, and it made the world of difference. It's a full frame. So I was like, oh yeah, this is so different. I mean, obviously the point and shoot allows you certain manual settings, um, but it just opened a completely new world. You can change your lenses. You can see what lenses do you want. You can try out and get different results in your photography. So yeah, really got engaged into that part of the digital world, let's say, of photography. And yeah, that was about 2 years ago.
So, what was it about the photos that you were getting with your power shot that you thought, you know what, I think it's time for me to actually upgrade to a DSLR?
Um, the quality is still good. You can still get a good quality, but it was. I mean, he was right. It was very limited. I have had like my aperture went only to f8.
Oh,
Like that
wow.
doesn't give you many options.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I was able to change that, that was like, oh wow, yeah, okay. So before I could do f4 to f8, two stops. That's not really much. So yeah, that was a big thing, and just the feel of a bigger camera. I know that might sound silly, but it kind of made me feel like, okay, this can be something serious.
Yeah. No,
and
I
at
get
the
that.
end of
That
the
sounds
day,
silly.
yeah, at the end of the day, the results with the iPhones have brilliant cameras these days, so the results might not be that different, but it's just the feeling I had when holding it. It just made me feel different. So I like that.
Yeah. Were there any photos that you weren't able to get with your power shot that you were really excited to try out again when you got your DSLR?
Yeah. Um, one thing that I did try, I still have to try more, but one thing that I was not able and I liked was astrophotography. So taking the Milky Way, still on my bucket list. I still have to do more to be getting a good picture of that, and that definitely I was not able to do with the
Sure.
with the point and shoot.
Well, what about now? Have you? So you said that you haven't been able to do that yet,
I
but
have tried,
uh-huh.
but
And
it's not easy. I still need to learn. There's so many things to learn about the settings you need and get out on the proper open space that you can see better and maybe a bit of the foreground, but not like my backyard, my garden is not suitable for that. Just very limited. You can do it, and that's how I've been practicing, but you know it's limited. So,
yeah, yeah. And
but
I
I
think
now have the gear to do it, so I
right,
will.
yeah. I think don't quote me on this, but I think it's let's see, in the southern hemisphere you can see the Milky Way best in the well, I think it's their summer, so then that would be our winter. So then that means that in our summer we'd be able to see it best in the northern hemisphere. And then but that's see, this is where I get confused by all those things because it's like different hemispheres and
Yeah.
different amounts of
Oh, I
dew
have
in
to
the
know.
air and humidity and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
what is it when you're not shooting astrophotography? What is it that you're shooting now that you love?
Well, the not this past Christmas, but the one before, I got a macro lens, and I just discovered a completely new world with that. It's a lens that allows you to take, portraits as well if you want, but the fact of being able to go in close, get the details, the little veins on the petals of a rose or something like that, and bugs. My husband was saying every bug in the garden has been photographed by now. So yeah, that was something I was like, wow, yeah, new world, something completely different. I'm not an insect person, I was like, ooh, spiders, ooh. But now through the lens, through a camera, it's like, oh, I can go in close and it's fine. It's like a barrier. I'm protected or something. So, uh, and now I really enjoy that. That's one of the things I've done a lot, over the past year, especially over the summer, longer days and everything. When there's shorter days, find some other things to do to photograph indoors. It's like, but yeah, the macro thing was like an eye opener for me. So you can even do like product photography with a macro lens, and it gives you such detail that it's like, wow, that's pretty cool.
So is
So
that something
mostly
that
nature, but I've gone into maybe product photography as well. I like that, the details.
yeah, of course. So is this something that you want to do more of? Kind of, I guess, tell me, there's obviously kind of two camps when it comes to photography, those who do it just for the artistic expression and those who, one day aspire to make money with their camera. What camp would you put yourself in?
It would be fantastic to make money with it. I know, around here, the normal, let's say, or the more common way to make money out of photography is photographing events. Your wedding, your engagement, communions, things like that. Um, but I hope to find another alternative, because I like the more, maybe the product photography. So an area where you could also make money. But the artistic part of it is it's very interesting. That's something I actually discovered about myself this past year. Following the daily challenge. Not every day, obviously, because I'm
I
not
don't think
creating
anybody did.
every
Yeah.
day. But there was the situation pushed me pretty much to be creative, and I'm happy of some photographs I took. My husband actually asked me, were you always that creative? I was like, no, I never considered myself creative, but that one turned out nice. So like, that'd be nice to be able to follow that a bit more, a bit deeper. And if that would make money, that would be fantastic. So it's just um, kind of I still have a lot to learn, to find out about where I'm going or what I can do. So I feel I'm at the start of my journey. Well, I'm a bit into it. It's not the very beginning, but there's still a whole lot of road ahead.
Of course. I feel the exact same way. It's going to last for a long time for sure. So, would you consider yourself today to be creative?
um, uh, a bit more than I did consider myself before. Yeah, I still think that there's so much more that people do. That I see other people, or sometimes one of those days of the daily challenge that it's late. The light outside is gone. Those short days, and I'm like, oh, I still haven't taken my daily photo. What am I gonna do? And turn to the internet, find what do I photograph today? And a lot of the times I did get inspiration from the internet. People that put things that are really creative. I still have some in my mind, like I'm like, oh no, I need different lighting. Like get a flash, or get the I don't know, different things to create what you could see there. And but sometimes I actually did uh, yeah, I suppose get inspired from those photographs to do my own composition, my own thing. So there's a lot to learn, but I think it has actually developed my creativity,
Well,
which is
that's
a good
good.
thing.
Of course. Yeah, I don't think if anybody said that they were today more creative than they were last year, that would be ever used in some sort of negative context. So
Yeah.
it's always good to be more creative, to see the world a little bit differently.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
And you mentioned there a few times the daily photo challenge, and I want to talk about that because you kind of took over the group, and we're going to get into that. But first, I want to know, why did you decide to join the daily photo challenge in the first place? You had already been shooting for a year or so. What were you hoping to get out of the daily photo challenge?
I suppose practice. I always like a challenge. And that was a really steep challenge because I wasn't taking my camera out every day. I knew that I needed to practice more, because if I don't practice, you know, you get to make all those mistakes that start getting into your head, that you're like, that's what I did last time, so now I can change it. Like, you're being aware of that. But if you don't do it every day, you just take your camera, I don't know, every month or so, or every time I had the lesson, and he's like, you did homework, and we're like, oh, there was homework. So I guess what I wanted was a bit of a push to push myself, that I actually need this practice, or I'm not gonna be able to improve as quick as I might.
Of
So
course.
yeah, that was kind of like the thing behind, was get myself to pick up the camera more often. What better way than a daily challenge?
Yeah, no kidding. What was your biggest struggle throughout the year?
um I think especially at the beginning, we're still, cold, and you don't go out. The days are short, and as I said, I don't have lighting equipment, so needed everything to be with the daylight, and a lot of the time I'm like, what am I going to photograph? What is it? That kind of lack of inspiration, that creativity bit again. It's like, what is it? I've already done the flower here, or the plant there. It's like, what else? What else is there? So that was a bit of a struggle at the beginning. Spring arrived, and like, all the bugs and all the flowers got photographed in the garden. So that made it a bit easier, in the sense of the daily practice. You're okay to take the camera out, because there'll be something, that you'll find something to photograph. Whereas, yeah, I think mostly at the start, and I think a lot of people might have given up, around the time, because there's so much in the house that you can photograph. Then again, you realize there is loads more to photograph. You just have to find it, and a different light and a different angle. But yeah, that kind of like the inspiration of, and also because it's a bit counterintuitive, because it is a very supportive community. But I saw a lot of the people posting had their kids, pictures of their kids doing this, that at the playground, and that. It was like, well, you have a never-ending, supply of things to photograph, because kids, always do things and funny stuff and everything, and you're around them all the time. And I felt a bit at a disadvantage, because I didn't have kids to photograph. So yeah, it kind of got a bit frustrating at times, when you're like, okay, what do I do now? What do I do now? Um, so yeah, it was I needed to push myself harder. When you saw everybody had something to photograph and I didn't. I didn't need to compare myself to others, but I did. So that made it harder.
That always makes it harder. That always makes it harder. But it sounds to me like you're the kind of person who, when you see something, when you mentioned, going online and looking for photos, for ideas of things to photograph, that you looked at those photos as a form of inspiration rather than a form of comparison. But it's interesting that once we get into the daily photo group, suddenly others' photos aren't inspiring. They're more of a form of comparison. Why do you think that is?
That's a strange thing. It's almost um like, if you're supposed to be at the same level, why can't you produce the same things?
Hmm.
But it's just in your head, like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to produce the same things. Like, I can't produce the same things when I have kids to photograph. It's an impossibility. So it makes no sense to compare. And it did take me a while. And I think now I'm, the rest, last year, looking at the pictures, of the photos that everybody posted, there's some fantastic photos there. Kids are no kids, but like, people are so talented, and it's always very good to be able to receive feedback. And even if the feedback is just a like, you're like, oh, somebody liked the photo, it wasn't so bad then, So it should be really more of a constructive thing, rather than comparison thing. Because yeah, I suppose you're just thinking, well, I should be able to do that. Why am I not doing it? You'll be able to do something else, I'm sure.
I like that right there. I want to bring something up that I went back into the Daily Photo Challenge because you had been in it pretty much since the beginning, right? I think that you joined like a week into the new year last year. Like you've been in it since the beginning, and I found that you had left a comment on January 22nd saying that it's really been a struggle to keep up with the daily challenge. And I don't want it to become a chore, talking about photography, obviously. Here you are, you finished the year.
Yeah.
What in what ways did you find it to be able to, let me rephrase that question. How did you find ways to keep it from becoming a chore?
Well, I think, doing things as a chore is hard. And I had that, like commitment to do it. And I suppose I came close to saying, you know what, I'm just not going to do it because it feels like a chore. But then, something, whether it's, inspiration from Google or just, that you get a really nice picture and it lifts you up, you're like, all right, no, I can do this. This is possible. It's not a chore. I actually enjoyed taking this picture. I sometimes I did little setups of food or something. Like actually not just going to take the landscape, but actually putting the work into what I wanted in the composition. And when you see the end result and you're happy with it, it kind of lifts you up, and you say, yeah, no, that is not necessarily a chore. Like it depends how you look at it. So that's one of the things, kind of get more involved in it. And yes, at some point it did feel like I just have to take the picture and be done with it.
Yeah.
Just because I want to be, complete the challenge and actually take a picture. And really, there were days that I took one picture, like sometimes you take, 3 and choose the best one, sometimes I take 20. But sometimes it was like 9 p.m. I'm like, oh my God, again, okay, now I have this idea. Go take one picture. Yeah, turned out okay. That's it.
Good
So
enough.
it's hard. Yeah, it is hard to kind of keep going. But then when you have the good days and the 20 pictures that you can choose from because they're all fantastic, then that kind of motivates you because it is possible, So
That's a hard thing sometimes because I'm right there with you. There are days where it's warm outside and we'll go on a walk and we'll play in the sprinkler or we'll go to the park and you come back and you got 20 great photos and you're like, I don't even know what one to pick. Like there's so like I got a bunch of good photos today and that feels good. And then on those days where you only get the one photo and it just feels like it was a battle the whole time to get that photo, that can be really discouraging. So over the entire year, right, after finishing this year-long daily photo project, what have you learned about yourself and your photography?
Oh wow, loads. And I know there's loads more to learn, but well, one thing is I can be creative. That's a major learning. I can be, and
Huge. Yeah.
I am, and I can be even more creative. I also learned the type of photography I am good at, and lucky I like it. Like I like the detail bit. So if I, like one of my well, I haven't written it down, but one of my goals this year should be to be really getting to some product photography. So that those days where I was like, what do I do now? what am I going to photograph? And start, building something and say, oh, that turned out quite okay. That is, the kind of product photography I can do. So, I learned that about myself. I'm actually good at that. And I don't know, just things like, go out for a walk and now I see I see everything. I saw half of it before. You know, I'm more aware of my surroundings, of the little, changes in light, or like little birds, because now, photographing birds are on here. I'm in the countryside, so lots of that. And yeah, just be more aware of everything around me. We walk around, and I just think, wow, that'd be that nice photograph. Yeah, maybe I don't have my camera with me, but it's my mindset. It kind of changed. It kind of shifted towards that, towards seeing more of the beauty, I suppose, of things. Like more things that are worth taking a photo of.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So would you say that after completing this daily photo challenge, it's more of what you've learned is the ability, or strengthened the ability, to be able to visualize an image in your head before capturing it, or without having a camera in your hand?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of it. And sometimes things, might be in the car, or just listening to an ad on the radio, so it's not a visual image, and you just kind of think, oh, that could be a good thing as a visual image, and you kind of make an idea of what that could be in your head. It's like something I would never do before, because why? I didn't have a need for that. Or just listen to the ad and that's it. But now my whole mindset, my whole brain is working differently.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. You've unlocked a whole new potential for yourself. Maybe you'll
Yeah.
become a commercial director one day. That'd be cool.
That'd be fantastic. I'm
Yeah.
all for that. Yeah, but like all those little, and also obviously just being able to complete the challenge showed me that, yeah, I can. It's like, it is a challenge. The name is there. It's a challenge to keep doing it. But not it's not for everybody. That it has to be said. Not everybody can keep up with that. But it showed me that I'm patient. I have the patience. I have the resilience, I suppose. So a lot of those kind of things, on a more kind of not so technical skills, but more on the human side.
Yes.
To get those soft skills. So it's good to realize that I have them. Maybe you needed all this process of, oh, what am I going to do, and all that. It's all a learning process, and to get those skills as well. But it's good at the end of it to see, yeah, I have those too. So I'm happy about the things that the daily challenge taught me, that wasn't only photography as well. So that's good.
Have you been able to look back at all of your photos from the past year?
Yeah, I actually did. Yeah, I did.
What was that like? Tell me about that
It was
journey.
great. It was great. I mean, I have too many pictures, but I looked at the ones from my 365 challenge and the weekly challenge as well. I just went over them, like a slideshow, and they're very different. They're very, it's eclectic, because I'm at a point where I could do this or I could do that. So yeah, you'll find there landscapes, bugs of nature. You'll find there even a portrait. You might not find there a wedding, granted. But a lot of other types of photographs. It was good to see, and to see the progress. There's also I can't remember exactly when it was, towards February or March, I think, that I took your Lightroom 101 course.
Mm-hmm.
And it also made a difference. I started editing, which I didn't do before. I was like, editing, I don't know. The teacher here was like, oh no, you're not supposed to edit. It has to come out like as good as perfect in camera. And he's right. I mean, I see where he's coming from. You should get it right in camera. The editing that you do then, it's minimal.
Yes.
But learning just a tiny little bit of what editing can do to your picture, it can be a big change. It might be a very subtle change, but it kind of brings it up. It's like, oh yeah, I did that. Wow. So that was another thing of, okay, editing is not bad.
Right. Exactly. It's just like what you're saying, I too believe that, getting it right in camera is of the utmost importance. You try to get it 99% of the way right in camera, and then the editing is just simply the signature that you put on it, right? It's that flair, because cameras to me kind of feel very clinical. You know what I mean? It's settings, it's this, it's that, it's mechanical, it's digital, it's going to do this thing and it's going to replicate that every single time. And I
Hmm.
think we as humans, we don't really like that, or we don't. How am I trying to say this here? It feels, if we can put something of ourselves in an image and make it uniquely ours, then it feels like it has a little bit more life. And that's where I really feel the power of editing comes in. Is you're going to capture the same thing that everybody else can capture, but how do you put your signature on that? And I love that, being able to go back and look at all your photos, you've realized that, oh my gosh, there's so much that can be done with all of these things. And as you said, just kind of putting your own spin on it as well. So if
Yeah.
anybody else is thinking, maybe I want to do this daily photo challenge, like this sounds like fun, what tips would you have for those who are kind of on the fence about it right now?
Oh, well, all I can say is do it.
Do it.
Give it a try. I mean, you're never going to know whether it is for you or not if you don't try it. And, you go in open minded, knowing that it's going to be difficult. Nobody's going to go in, well, got this covered. I'm done with it. No, it's going to be tough. Some days it's going to be tough. And you just have to, keep at it and just keep shooting, keep practicing, because you'll learn a lot. You really will learn a lot, whether it's like you could even try new things that you wouldn't normally do, because maybe you have your job and you have to go and deliver something, to your client. So it's a set thing. But in your daily challenge, you can do whatever you want. You can give it a try. You can um, change your editing style, for example. That's something I'd like to try. I come to realize, the way I edit, I like the very vivid colors, vibrant. Might have to do with the fact that a lot of the year I was shooting flowers, and you like the colors to pop up. But there's different, styles. Maybe you want to bring that vibrance down a bit, and see how that goes. Doesn't mean that because that's the way I edit, that's going to be like that forever. I can change that too, and I can try and the word experiment is the word I'm looking for. You can experiment those things, and maybe your composition, you can try this thing, and maybe there's the daily challenge, like where you just take a photo of whatever you want, and the weekly, which has a theme, right? And you can make your daily a part of the weekly. So like you can use the theme of the week for your daily photos. So you could try, like that's your space for trying things on the same topic, let's say. So you can say, okay, this first one for Monday wasn't really what I was looking for. Let's try it again on Wednesday. And you can't, that's your space for growing. You can just expand all in all areas.
When it comes to photography right now and the actual like technical side of shooting, where do you find yourself struggling most?
I think it's still light. That's one of the things I'm gonna try, investigate more this year, because I got myself for Christmas a flash. So
Yes.
now I have to start learning that bit of light, lighting. So yeah, as I said, there were some times when it was 9 p.m. and I'm like, haven't done this, don't have a flash, what are you gonna do? There's so much light, your normal light bulb will give you. So a lot of my pictures of those situations had exposures of 20 seconds, just to
Right. Oh my goodness.
off
Yeah.
light in, So that can create noise and things like that. So um now that I that I have my flash, I'm going to learn and hopefully be better at those situations, or create those situations. I love those portraits, where half of the face is lit and the other one's in darkness.
Yes.
I want to experiment with that kind of thing, because the last year I just didn't, and I just couldn't, because I found light, that the lighting bit of photography a bit more difficult.
So maybe 2020 was the year of camera settings and visualization, and then 2021 is going to be the year of lighting and putting it into practice.
Yeah, yeah, and
That's
all
awesome.
for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much that can happen in 2021.
There you go. It's endless possibilities now. Here we go. You mentioned a few times, sometimes it being 9 o'clock, 9 p.m., and realizing, oh, I haven't taken a photo today. I got to do something. Um, how would you normally try to make time for photography? That's one of the biggest things that I hear from other photographers is that they just don't have enough time. How do you make time for photography?
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing, like, especially when you have a full-time job. And as I said, I don't have one, so I probably was lacking in that. But yeah, that's where the commitment part of it comes in, and it can be tough. But if you make the commitment, stick with it. Just find the time. Sometimes you might only need 10 minutes and you're done. Um, you can make it part of your daily routines. Like if you go for a walk, then always take your camera. You might find something, and that's your space for photography. Like I have a dog, so we actually do have to go out for a walk with the dog every day, and I take my camera. That's why there's so many kind of like nature and landscape pictures. But if you don't have that kind of an option, um, it is a matter of uh, your own willingness, or like you have to have willpower and actually make a slot in your day for photography. It doesn't have to be a big one, but maybe the rest of the day you're at work and you're thinking about you know this or that, and then you come up with an idea, a nice composition. When I get home, I can put this together, and then you have your 10 minutes or half an hour, and you set it up and you do it and it's done. So it's not an easy thing to make time for it, and I found it, yeah, really hard. Sometimes life just happens. You start, you leave the house for the whole day, and then you come back and it's like, it's so late, I'm so tired, I'd rather go to bed, but well, I have a commitment, so let's do it. 10 minutes. And yeah, so just if I like this year, if I'm going to continue this, because obviously I started again, right?
Yes.
um just try to have a set time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a defined time, maybe hopefully when there's still light outside, and try to stick to it. See, maybe that helps, just have your like a meeting in your calendar with your camera.
That's perfect. Yeah, you gotta make time for what it is that you love. It's I get it. I'll be the first to admit, with kids sometimes it's difficult with, homework, and I mean, he's only 8 and like he's got a good amount of homework now, and like that's difficult, and soon our youngest will be going to school, and it just seems to take up a lot of time. But if we can be more intentional with the things that we want to work on, instead of just saying, what am I going to take a photo of? But if you know that, this year you're going to work on light, what can I do with this light today to create a certain effect? Or if you just give yourself some sort of parameters, hopefully it can cut down on the amount of time that you need to do it, but also not make it as stressful to figure out, what am I going to shoot today?
Yes.
What am I going to do about that? So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
If anybody's listening right now, just getting started in photography, what tips would you have for them? Brand new photographer, what tips would you have for them for growing as a photographer this year?
I think the basic thing is practice, and it doesn't matter how it comes out. Just practice. If they're still on automatic, you're on auto, fine, just practice. When you get more comfortable with it, you can start looking at manual, because it just gives you more possibilities. You're in control. But just have it as a present day thing. Like in your daily life, it's like creating. I think that's what the challenge last year taught me. Like everything is a photo possibility, and if you're in an area that you like, you can start seeing those things, kind of focus your attention towards those things, even if you don't have the camera. Then when you do have it, then go for it. Just don't forget, um, don't forget those things that you were conscious of just because you don't have your camera with you. Just be sure to go back to it and say, oh yeah, yeah. You making a conscious effort, on that. And yeah, most of all, just have fun. I mean, it should be fun.
Right. I know it should be fun. I feel like whenever I'm talking to photographers, it seems like such a stressor, like, oh, I don't have the time, I don't have the right gear, I don't have, I don't live in this tropical location, whatever it is, it always seems like it's such a stressor. And you're right. It should be fun. It should be fun. And what you said there, everything is a photo possibility. I mean, that's my biggest takeaway from this. Like, that is such a great quote right there. Everything is a photo possibility. I love that. Sandra, before I let you go, you've been gracious with your time. I appreciate you coming on. This has been a blast. Before I let you go,
Fantastic, yeah.
where can people find you and see more of your work?
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I did set up my website last year, so that's one of my good things. Yeah. Very easy, just my name, Sandra Garzon Photography.com. I have a Facebook page as well, Sandra Garzon Photography, and Instagram, but I just need to get more active on Instagram. That's one of my things for this year.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Yeah. So I hope to be showing more of Sandra Garzon Photography on Instagram as well. Yeah.
What a fun chat with Sandra. It's so much fun talking with, you, the community of the podcast. Sometimes, most of the time I just see you behind a computer screen and just see your name and then maybe a photo that you post and like some text, but you really don't get the full context of who somebody is and what really excites them until you're able to, even if it's virtually, meet face to face. So that was so much fun. Again, I hope that you got a lot out of it. My biggest takeaway was, Sandra's comment right there at the end. Everything is a photo possibility. That is something that if you're going to do a daily photo challenge, you really have to hammer in. And then once you fully grasp that concept, then you'll be able to, take it and run and essentially be able to shoot anything. You'll never run out of content to be able to capture. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this podcast. I'm sure Sandra would love to hear, what you thought about her interview and, her views on photography, of how she got in it and everything like that. So if you have something to share, come on into the Beginner Photography Podcast Facebook group where I'll have the link. And then, just let Sandra know, hey, thanks so much for coming on. I loved this about your interview. It was great. So Sandra, if you're listening, right now, again, my biggest takeaway is just not only your dedication to the process of doing a daily photo challenge, and forcing yourself to carve out that time and to push yourself to do it, and then your realization that everything is a photo possibility is just fantastic. So Sandra, I'm so excited to see where you're going in the future, and I'm glad to have you in the group, so that I can follow along as well. So that is it for this bonus episode of the Beginner Photography Podcast. If you want to hear more of these, obviously let me know. We're going to be doing more of them throughout the year, and that is it. Until next time, stay safe, keep shooting. Talk to you soon.